Is that her mom, a mom of 5?
Yeah, I was
Does anyone else have more than 5 kids? No.
Yeah, anyone with more than 5?
No one's crazy.
Anybody who really likes to paint?
I think, honestly, I have 2. I think 2's the right number. Right? I think 2, tops. Just, it's math. Because the earth is so, it's only this size, right? We have enough people here. Simple math, replace you and your wife, 2 kids. Fine, maybe a third for spare parts, but no more than that. And you're gonna groan at that joke until one day when you're like, man, my kidney hurts. Hey buddy, how's it going down there? Dad, why is my name Organ Bank? Shut up and eat healthy. That's what I'm telling you.
I have one of those actually.
An organ bank?
Yeah, they had twins.
I know.
They're identical, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you pick the, you groom them, the one that's the best, you keep it. And the other one you just put in a freezer.
Here's the thing, I love 1 to 2 of my 3 children with all of my heart.
Same. Everybody has a favorite child. They lie when they say they don't.
I tolerate the 3rd one because Pennsylvania state law says that I have to. But I'm going to be honest. I mean, I don't play favorites, but I really don't like the little one. I don't like him. There's a darkness there.
You got booed for that.
Yeah, I know, but we call him the Dark Lord. Let me just show you. Look at him. Dog, that's an act. He's off.
Listen, if Satan is going to come, he's going to look like that. That's how it works. If he's going to come in ugly, he's going to come in like a beautiful child. That's how Satan works. We know that.
Yeah. Like I said, we call him the Dark Lord. He would beat me. If I ever turn up missing, check the coal mines up on Armenian Mountain, because that's where he dumped me. Look at his smug little face. Smug bunny.
So gorgeous.
When I started out, I wasn't even sure I wanted kids. What I actually wanted was a pet monkey. Thank you. No, so I'm serious. And my wife and I had a discussion about it. And she made a deal publicly with witnesses, which to me makes it a legally binding contract. We're 5 years in and I've still got no damn monkey. And so the deal was that if I gave her the human child that she wanted, then I would receive the pet monkey that I wanted. And as I said, the monkey. And I really wanted the monkey. Because I was going to name him Mr. Sprinkles, and I was only going to talk to him like Mrs. Doubtfire Dear. And I was going to dress him in adorable little overalls. And we'd break dance, and I'd give him French fries, and we'd double fist him. Oh, it's going to be glorious. And here's the thing about monkeys. If I take a monkey to an upscale, really nice restaurant, and I put him in a nice tuxedo, and he's looking good, and we're eating, and at some point during that meal, that monkey strips down naked, and he grabs a handful of macaroni and just slaps somebody upside the head. Nobody cares. They expect it. It's a monkey. People love it. But if I take my human child to the same restaurant, put him in the same handsome tuxedo, and my human child strips down naked and slaps somebody upside the head with macaroni, now I'm a bad parent. Things are just better with a monkey.
Everything's better with a monkey.
It really is.
Boo monkeys? You booing monkeys?
That's cold.
By the way, the worst thing about having twins is, you only get to have sex once and then you get stuck with 2 kids. It's not fair. Like, I have 2 kids, I've had sex twice. You have 3 kids, you only had sex twice. Kind of a raw deal on your part.
It is, yeah. So, am I owed a bonus?
I'm looking over there like his wife is sitting there.
She really is.
Oh, she is. I thought she was over there.
Let's be calm, my mom's here. Also my 6th grade English teacher.
We applaud the 6th grade teacher. Look what you created. From what I understand, Jason was a super genius when he was younger. What happened? Mrs. Anderson. You're trying to seduce me, Mrs. Anderson. Sorry, I don't want to, but you're really smart, and we gotta slow you down.
We could have homes on separate coasts, go dive in Greece with squids. Could have been so bleeping rich, but instead we had kids. They won't smile for a photo, they won't eat the food we choose. That's why we're heading to the parents' lounge to drown ourselves in booze. Every day we're more exhausted, we haven't slept in years. They hit me in the nuts so bad, my eyes filled up with tears. And yes, we'd like to fake our death and go off of the grids, but the truth is we are softies and we truly love our kids. So join us every Tuesday night to laugh at all our pain. Evening in the parents' lounge is the cure to staying sane. You did it! Yo!
Oh, I was waiting for you.
What are you waiting
Ladies and
for?
gentlemen, welcome to the Parents Lounge. I'm your host, Jason Gown, and with me, as always, is my partner in crime, Mr. Jamie Kaler.
I am Jamie Kaler. Thank you guys for joining me. It was so great to see that clip. I was like, oh, that's right. That was so much fun to do. We have such a crazy night tonight. So thank you to everyone who's joined us. It's crazy every week. It just kind of all of a sudden parents are like, my friends are like, hey, you doing the show tonight? And they're like making a drink ready. And it's almost like an excuse to get away. So literally it's the oasis in the week for parents, I think, on a Tuesday night.
Yeah,
But
I think people are finally finding us.
It's Red Sox Yankees. I'm from Boston. It doesn't mean as much as it once did to me, but it still means a lot. I guess it means a lot. And I'm watching. So if you see me look to the side, it's because I have the game on next to me. So
you're watching the game while we're doing the show?
No. I'm not watching it. I'm totally invested. Let's go Sox, says Kyle. So many of my friends are Yankees fans, though. So it's really funny. We've been texting, and it's crazy how, I used to be such a sports nut. I know you're like the same way you feel about Marvel. I used to feel about sports. And I used to, like, before I had kids, I would watch, I would have a Red Sox game on like every day. I would just have it on the background or whatever. I'd keep all 162. I'm watching the playoff game. I haven't watched one game this year, not one. And I honestly, I don't miss it. I don't know. I watched the Patriots this week, but honestly, couldn't care. My friends were texting me going, you okay? I go, yeah, I couldn't give a flying fuck. I got to get 2 kids to school in the morning. Right now, I'm helping a kid learn to read. It's like at the end of the day, I can't believe how much time I invested in sports over the years where I was like, I mean, when the Sox lost in like 86, I was destroyed for weeks when the ball went through Buckner's leg. And now I look back and I was like, what's wrong with me? Why do we take things so seriously that are absolutely meaningless?
I have seen people get really, really angry if you disparage sports in any way, shape, or form.
Listen, I love sports. I grew up. I played soccer through college. I love sports. I love it. But it was like, just because I grew up in New Hampshire, that's my team, and I will fight to the death for them in a weird way of like, what I love the Bronx Tale when the dude says Mickey Mantle's not paying your rent, and the kid's like, oh. Like, he's like, I would die for Mickey Mantle. And you're like, would Mickey Mantle die for you? That's the question.
No, Mickey Mantle would not.
In today's day and age, it's like these athletes, I loved Barkley. Charles Barkley is one of my favorites because he's like, 86. Honestly, dude, I met Buckner. Actually, that's Tommy. Our guest today is awesome. He is the creator, the founder, the voice. He is the face. He is Life of Dad, who's been doing this for long before we even started. And so it's going to be exciting to come in. But we'll talk about it when he comes in because, I look back and I'm like, wow, all the times I watch those Red Sox games, I could have learned a language. I could have learned how to play piano. I could have
I could have read a book. I could have done so many things, and yet I
could have properly learned how to use a contraceptive and avoided all of the nightmares that I have right now.
That should have been lesson 1. So, how was your week?
Well, my youngest, as you know, the Dark Lord, my wife and he are at odds this week. And she looked me square in the eye and said, "You are taking the child and you and he are leaving this house, or one of us is not going to survive it today." So my wife sends me with the child out. He hates me. He does not like me. He and I we're cut from the same cloth. And we went to the grocery store, and he was every bit as awful as I knew he was going to be when we set foot inside the place. He was throwing food out of the cart, paper towel rolls. I had it. I had it with him. And I called my wife from the store, and I said, "Look, you better have somebody come and get the child, because one of the two of us is not going to come home if this continues." And she threatened me to bring home the child. So I did. It was a lot.
Dude, I mean, everybody who's watching this is going, yeah, that's Tuesday.
But I had a separate experience with the oldest. I took him, and as you know, Bluey plays here 10 to 15 hours a day.
As it should. Bluey is the best babysitter on earth right now.
Absolutely. So I did this thing. I took a page from Bluey's dad's book. And when we got to the grocery store, I told my child, that we would switch places. We would switch roles. I would be the kid and he would be the father. I behaved every little thing he's ever done in a store. I performed to perfection, from throwing things on the floor to not getting my way. And my child got a little taste of what it was like to be a dad. He took me by the arm and he said, "You wait till we get home. You're in so much trouble. You're going to lose all of your toys." And we got done. And first of all, he wanted me to pay. And I was like, "I'm the kid. I don't have any money. I don't know how I'm not going to, no, Kyle, I did not pull his pants down like he did to me, but I should have, because he did do that to me and my underpants." But yeah, and on the way out, he said to me, he's like, "I know what you did there. You wanted me to see what it was like when I was bad in the store." And I said, "That's right. And what did you learn?" He's like, "I'll be nicer from now on." So it was a good teach.
You know what? Good for you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. I feel pretty good about it.
You did some stuff. Yeah. Listen, my daughter's the same. All of a sudden I'll teach her something. She go, "Dad, I think I learned. She doesn't say it that way. She goes, "Whatever." But I think she thinks she learned something, and then 30 seconds later, it's like, "Doo!" She didn't learn a thing. They
turn it off. I know when I go back to the store, he's going to turn right back into that kid.
Oh, there's no two ways about it. So
he didn't physically beat me.
Did he beat you? Well, yeah, no, mentally. They beat you mentally on a daily basis.
Emotionally, for sure. I'm scarred for life from them.
That's awesome. Well, your week might have been rough. Mine's been okay. It's been a good week. So let's jump into this. We got a lot of fans here who are
let's do it.
Specifically here to spend some time with our guest. And honestly, I was really he's a great cat. He's a great comic. He's a good friend of mine. He works at the Ellen DeGeneres show. He's the warm-up comic who brings the crowd up for the show. He's been doing that for a long time. He's been doing all those crazy videos with Brent Papalizio and Josh Wolf, and he's awesome. So please welcome Tommy Riles.
Hey guys, what's going on?
I'm putting this up for you right out of the chute, Tommy. Oh, he took it down.
Okay.
The Mets are my fave team, Red Sox second favorite, as I fell in love with baseball in '86. But like you, Jamie, I fell out of love with baseball when I became a dad. I just don't have the time anymore. Isn't it crazy how before kids, like we're all full of love. There is love and there is a laser beam focus that we want to love things so badly. And so we find it in sports. We find it, I think, in bands maybe. Whatever your passion is. And then all of a sudden kids come and everything else is still kind of there, but it's in the ether a little bit because there's not enough love to go around.
Yeah, man, 1,000%. And what's up, Jason? Good to meet you, man.
Hey man, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Of course. Thanks for.
I'm so sorry. I forget you guys didn't meet, Jason.
Oh, you're fine.
I've been a fan for a long time, so I'm happy to have you here.
Oh, likewise, Jason. This actually feels like the Parents Lounge right now. This is my little apartment here in Los Angeles. Jamie, you like this or what?
Well, let me ask you: are you in a bordello from 1920? Because honestly, that looks like a great speakeasy hang, man.
That's exactly. So it's my friend's place. I rent the bottom floor, and I have my own little studio. Here's my little kitchen, and little bathroom right there. And then a great view of the city outside. You can't really see it, but we're up in the hills in Studio City. So this is
Dude,
where
that's like an opium den from New York, like in New York in like 1890. Like just
absolutely, yeah, man. All right, so the baseball question. So big baseball fan, big Mets fan, but I'm with you. I used to watch every game. That was like the soundtrack to my childhood. Just listening to the Mets on the radio. That was all I did. I didn't even get into bands that much. It was all sports for me. I'm actually a New York fan, but I'm a Boston fan too. The Red Sox are my second favorite team. My mom's from Boston, so I'm a Patriots fan. And football is just a much more convenient sport as a parent, though. You just got to give it a day or a few hours in one day, and that's it, right?
And it's usually a Sunday. It might be a Thursday night. There's an occasional Monday, but it's pretty. You're like, hey, listen, Dad's gonna be on the couch for a couple hours on Sunday. It's all gonna work out. But baseball's like, dude, there's 162 games. I don't know how guys can even survive 1 year. I couldn't play that many games.
I did a fantasy league once, baseball fantasy league. I lost. I couldn't do it after 2 weeks. I just couldn't. I couldn't put in for what $100 pool. I'm gonna spend 162 days substituting players. What?
Some guys live. That is their lifeblood. I have never done one fantasy league. It's so funny. I was watching something, some quote, I forget what it said, but it was about the fact that happiness comes from not wanting anything. And I kind of thought about my life, about how I consider myself a pretty happy cat. And I have never really wanted anything that badly. You know, it's like sometimes I see guys and they're doing the fantasy leagues, and you're right. It's like, it's $100 bucks. And you're like, dude, you're putting in thousands of hours on this thing. Is this really what you want? And they're like, I want it so badly. I just want it. And I never got that. I never understood that.
Yeah. Well, the Sox are up though, man. I can't stand the Yankees. So this is looking good. So 3-1.
Are you watching the game as well?
I've got it on right up here.
Of course we are. Everybody who's watching this is watching the game. So please comment along. But Michelle Pulver says, you're my favorite on Ellen. How do you get talked into wearing very little?
Oh, hey, Michelle. Oh, that's not me you're thinking of. So you're thinking of Andy, my friend Andy from over on the show. So he's the guy that's always wearing the short shorts. But we got similar builds. So I could see what you're thinking. He's another 6'2", slim guy. But that's my friend Andy. Yeah, I've worked at that show for so here's the deal. Our family was in Los Angeles. We moved to Nashville. I'm back here for the show now, which is why I'm staying in this 1800s New Orleans apartment. And I go to see the family every weekend in Nashville. So I'm kind of living the life right now. I'm here. I've never had so much free time. Jamie, you and I were going to go get a beer or whatever tonight, or we'll do it tomorrow night. I've got every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night free.
That's the beauty of it, dude.
And then I see the family on weekends. That's what's happening for 6 months, and then we'll be in Nashville permanently. It was my wife's idea to do that, by the way.
I wondered how you got away with this, because I was like, where are the children screaming?
They're exactly.
Well, I want to talk about that because that's on the list, because so many times my wife has said, we should move. And in the back of my head, I'm always thinking about that. But before we get to that, we were talking about sports a little bit. And I'm going to show you, let me show you guys a quick video really quick. And this is my daughter's soccer game on Saturday. And
I think I saw this already.
How this
forming.
Mm-hmm. So this is soccer at its highest level.
That's the European League.
They don't nobody positions. It's like a swarm of bees, right? It's just a swarm of bees following a ball around. And it made me laugh so hard because Tommy and I were talking about this earlier about like I played soccer through school, so I almost had to beg them to play soccer. And how do you get your kids to follow into the sports world, right? Tommy, you're dealing with that now, aren't you?
So I'm a pretty calm guy. Like nothing gets me worked up. I don't really get nervous about anything. But we have 3 kids. We have an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old. When the 11-year-old was 4, the 9-year-old was only 2-ish, almost 3, and we signed them up for a 3 to 5-year-old soccer league, right? Which is way too early in retrospect.
Way
right?
too early.
Well, they're good. My son wasn't even 3. That was the thing. We snuck him into the league, but we just wanted him to be on. He's a little more mature, and she's a little less mature, so we wanted them to be on the same team. And my only fear was us getting found out that we had tried to sneak a 2-year-old into this league. And the Swarm, our kids didn't even follow the Swarm. Neither one of them cared at all. So then we're just like, just stay somewhere near, stay on the field, don't go that way. So, and then I'm going through, wait, they're going to kick us out of the league and not give us the $200 back for my 2-year-old that we snuck in here. So every game I was just, my brain was mush. I couldn't handle it. It was
At the age of 2.
At 2.
Oh, dude. Listen, we're at 8, we're at 7 and 6 right now. And even now I'm like, they're too young. What's funny is my daughter, Claire, so we did it 2 different ways. My one daughter, we organized it so she played with all of her friends. And then the other daughter just kind of got thrown onto a team. And so the daughter who got thrown onto the team, I saw them, I have no idea how good teams are or what's going to happen. And so Claire's first game, I was kind of worried. I thought she'd come home in like tears and go like, we got killed or whatever. They won 16-1.
Wow.
I was in Pennsylvania doing the shows, and my wife was texting me. She's like, Claire scored again. Another girl. But Claire's not the killer. So there's a girl on her team who's literally 6 years old and just dribbles through everybody, scores. Dribbles through everybody, scores. It's crazy where you're like, you can just see it. You're like, that girl's going to college. She might play on the national. You're like, it's freaky at 6 years old.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my son's played a bit of baseball, and I feel like we knew at 4 or 5 who had a chance to play high school ball and not. And my son was not one of the ones that had a chance. And that was clear at the age. In California, it's crazy. We start them at 5, and the sports are pretty intense here as they get a little bit older.
Right.
So it's it was clear who was on the path by the age of 6 at the latest.
Yeah, they are. And it's so crazy to watch the other parents, and they have like, I never had a like private coach. I had the dude who worked at the car dealership who was just hitting me fungos and stuff, and there was nobody who was like, nobody ever showed me how to like officially hit a ball or kick a ball. There was nobody of any caliber in my town, but there are people here who are like crazy talented, who are breaking down. I watched this one girl like on the next field over with a tee and a private coach. She was like 10 or 11, and her swing was textbook. And he was like going through her. They had video. There were computer generated images of what exactly she was doing, and she was learning. I was like, holy cow.
Are you kidding? And how old is she?
Oh, she was maybe junior high school or something, and she was deadly. I was like, holy shit, that girl's good.
Like,
and I'm starting to see these athletes like that, where it's like they are just crafted out of clay. It's nuts.
Well, I helped coach a U8 team, and they basically handed us the Bad News Bears / Mighty Ducks, like first movie. Like they've got a lot of heart. That's all I can say. They've got a lot of heart. But we have some of the kids on the team who don't know which goal is ours. They've scored for the other team a few times.
And did they celebrate like, I scored? And you're like, no, you didn't. You didn't score. It's the wrong way.
So I weep a lot at the end of each game.
It's weird. I didn't scream once. I watched the games. I watched 2 games on Saturday. They were the first times I ever watched my daughter in games. I was on the road for the first 2 games of theirs. And I watched, and because at practice, I actually went through the training. Tommy, did you do that to go? I coached my kids. Like I'm the third coach in the team. There's 2 guys who are really the coaches. And I always say I'm like the strength and conditioning coach because I played. So I'll sit and I run around during practice and I steal the ball from them and make them kind of protect their ball. And then I dribble around them and then I play with them and stuff. And it's super fun.
Yeah.
But I'm not the guy who's like, All right, kids, here's what we're doing today. I'm not that guy. I can't be that guy.
Yeah.
My
I
buddy is.
never did. I've been assistant coach. I've never done coach training because I've always been the assistant. I didn't want too much responsibility, if that makes sense, on a Sunday or a Saturday.
Me neither.
Although I did just get talked into being my kid's religious ed teacher. We were Catholic. We go to Catholic mass, and there was no religious ed teacher, and I was dropping my kids off, and the same two that were in soccer now, they're 11 and 9. They're in the same grade level for religious ed at least, and there was no teacher there. And I'm only home with them 3 days out of the week, like I said before. So I was like, well, I guess the least I could do is teach them religion. So I'm going through training for that now. So
that's kind of cool. Like, listen,
catechism.
here's what I do like. Well, I'm in a little Catholic school here, and the big thing is you have to put hours in. And at first, I fought it. I was like, oh, I don't want to put the hours in. But as soon as I did, I felt really involved in my kids' school, and it honestly made me. And I met all the other parents, and we were kind of all involved in the kids. Yeah. And honestly, I kind of was like, all right, you're right. It was kind of good. So I kind of felt better about what I was doing with my kids. But you know,
I don't mind. I mean, so it's about the training was a bit much, maybe 3 or 4 hours of that. But now it's maybe an hour of prep before I go in. I've just got to look the stuff over, and hey, it's kind of like I'm learning it as a 4th grader again. And that's okay. That's okay too, you know. And then I try to make it fun. I don't know if if the parents appreciate my style with it, but you know, we definitely played a game. You know, did God bring this to earth, or is this from a video game? You know, things like that, and the kids have had fun with it.
Hey, for you guys out there who are fans of Life of Dad, if you have questions for Tommy, please write them in the comments, and we'll get them answered. Because, dude, Life of Dad's been around for a long time, and there's a lot of people who are involved. And I mean, you've shared so much parenting content, not just your own, but that it's been kind of a hub, I think, for people to kind of decompress and have a good laugh.
Yeah, man.
Sometimes you see a meme and you're like, that's me. And it kind of, you know, it seems so trivial, and yet it puts a smile on your face. And it all kind of brings us together in this way where we commiserate and go like, yeah, I did that.
There have been memes that have come across your stuff before that have gotten me through a day on more than one occasion. So I
think a lot of people like that. That's why you have so many fans and followers. So
yeah, that's a crazy. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, that's a wild thing to hear sometimes, because it did start, you know, as small as it could have. It actually started. My oldest daughter was born with a heart defect, so I started it from a hospital room, and I was just looking for like a support group, and there wasn't anything there. And my daughter was about to go through open heart surgery. So I was like, hey, let me just put these thoughtful, inspirational messages out on Facebook. It was new then, and call it Life of Dad. So that was kind of the start of it. And she's healthy now, by the way. She's an amazing kid. Yeah. But that was kind of where it all came from. And now this past week, we shared something that was in one of our groups. A guy needs a kidney, and like 10,000 people shared this post and applying to give this man a kidney. Like it's unbelievable. So it's grown past anything I could have ever comprehended. And it's become this beautiful community that I don't even know all the people that it affects and touches. You know what I mean? It's pretty amazing.
Well, it's funny because, you know, you see, if you watch 60 Minutes with the whistleblower or whatever, and yes, there's so much negative content, not just on Facebook, but on every social media page, that people are like, you know, get rid of all this stuff. But there are like a lot of people who have had problems. I've definitely joined groups where I've had like the same issue with other people, and all of a sudden it does bring you together, and you can air your grievances, and everyone's like, dude, I went through that already. Here's how it went. And we kind of did that even through the podcast and stuff I've done before, where, you know, I learned so much. I mean, that's how this all started, was me like going, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed with parenthood. And then to talk to other people and they go, no, we all went through that. You're going to be fine. You'll get through it. It honestly is kind of a weird thing, because you fall into this world where you have kids, and all of a sudden you feel like you're the only person on earth dealing with this shit. And then everyone's like,
it's a lonely road of parenthood.
That's normal. So,
yeah.
Hey, I have a question for you though, Tommy.
Yeah,
I want to talk about moving, because listen, our buddy Josh Wolf is out there with you. Nate Bargatze lives there. There's tons of comics in Nashville. Not just Nashville. We have friends who've moved to Austin. And for all of us as like comics, so we don't care. We'd move in a heartbeat. But the trick about moving kids, I'm so intrigued about how your kids dealt with it.
Yeah.
What it was like for you guys. So yeah, talk about that.
Sure. So we knew that the Ellen Show was going to end within a year or two. It wasn't officially announced yet when we moved, but kind of had an inkling that that's where it was heading, right? And so we knew that, and we've been talking about it forever. Once Ellen moves on, we'll probably move somewhere else. As an audience warm up, I've kind of reached the peak of my career. I've worked for all the top shows out here. I've worked for Ellen. I've worked for American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, like all those shows. I've done all of them, which has been amazing. And that was my.
And by the way, for those of you who don't know, I'm not sure a lot of people get what you do, because as a comic in town, that is the hardest job to get. I mean, every comic wants that because it's a great paying gig. You're doing stand-up. You sleep in your own bed at night. You're not traveling. You're working with this amazing show of Ellen and one of the greatest comics of all time and stuff. And to do all these, like our old friend Brody Stevens used to warm up Chelsea lately. All these people who've opened shows, it's a tough gig to get. And so all of a sudden, this thing you've done forever is coming to an end.
Yeah. I've built this career on doing this on all these shows. And it was my dream at 22. That was my dream to do that. And then I was doing it by the age of 23, and I'm 41 now. And then I worked for all these shows. So to explain to people watching, you don't know what it is. I go out about 20 minutes before Ellen comes out, and it's explaining the rules. It's telling a couple jokes. It's more than anything, though. It's just making people comfortable. It's just making them comfortable in their seats, making them feel welcome, and getting them excited. The thing about doing warm up is you have to realize it's not about you at all. It's about whoever's about to walk through the curtains or through the door, So that's why I think I've lasted so long doing it. It's kind of a no ego position where you just have to be a team member and have some fun. And it's been amazing, man. It's I've worked for all those shows, and with Ellen, we've had every guest in the world you can imagine. I've been in the front row for every musical artist out there. It's insane. And it's been a great run. But for us, it was, so I've started this Life of Dad thing. The dream is definitely to do what I'm doing now with Life of Dad full time. And that's a lot more attainable in a different city outside of Los Angeles. And I'm curious your take on it, Jamie, but I feel like the whole entertainment community is blending in the digital, one, but then two, I don't know, for me at least, TV is not as exciting as it used to be.
It's a different medium.
20 years later.
I mean, I watched the Emmys this year, and it used to be ABC, NBC, CBS, not one. It was all Apple and Netflix, and Hulu,
right?
And listen, there's every YouTube star I know, or people who are doing online, they would take a pay cut to go back to television. They have their own channel that they moderate, which you have. You have the Life of Dad. You have this whole audience out there that that is there for your content. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's at a point now where it's a mix of everything, and you can do everything. You can do it all. So it's just, building yourself up to be, you're a brand at this point. You're just the Life of Dad, and everybody knows it. And whatever content you put out is going to be to that people. So whether it crosses over to then be television, it seems like an easy fit. I mean, on TV, it's funny because you'll watch some kid who's like gaming and he'll have millions and millions of views. And then you'll have somebody else on network TV and they'll have like 1 million people watch that episode. And that's a good number. So those days of like MASH, when 2/3 of the country watched the MASH finale, those are long over, man.
Never again.
And when it went from film to television, like, the film stars were like poo-pooing on television. And then all of a sudden, movie stars were like, wait, Kiefer Sutherland made $1 million an episode times 24 episodes per season?
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing a film once a year for $3 million when that dude just made $25 million over the So, and I think obviously you see what these guys are making online. And I think it's an easier way to do your own thing and to reach the masses, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
quality also got a lot better too.
It's the whole globe, So I don't know.
Yeah. Here I'm grabbing my drink and my drink. I'll be right back.
Of course.
Do it. That's so funny. Could you hear 2 seconds ago? My daughter took piano lessons.
Yeah.
Piano lessons.
Which daughter's taking it?
So they're both taking it. It's after school, and so I was sitting there, and she's trying to go like Yankee Doodle. So we're doing piano lessons, Tommy.
Yeah.
Because I honestly, it kind of came from me going back and going like, boy, I wasted a lot of time doing all that crap. I should have taken like piano lessons. So I got my daughter's piano lessons, and she was just playing in the background if you could hear it. But
do they practice though?
Yankee Doodle, and so I took tape and I wrote the
C, D, E, F, G, A, B on the piano keys so that she could go C, C, D, E, C, E, D.
Now, do they practice? I mean, we've struggled with instruments where we'll get them the lessons, but then they won't pick it up until the following lesson. And then I'm like, oh, the money's just pouring out of my wallet, and there's no improvement at all.
It's so hard.
Is that where you're at too?
I'm right there. Listen, for anybody who's watching, how do we get them to practice on a daily basis?
Right.
Do they enjoy it while they're doing it?
I don't
Or
know.
are you like you're taking these lessons and you're gonna like it?
They always say, oh, we want to take the lessons, Dad, and I sign them up for lessons. They like the lesson, but they don't understand yet that they have to. I think it's not just piano. I think it's this generation. My daughter she like scored a goal and she's like, did it, got it. I'm a pro soccer player now, and I was like, that was a bullshit goal, by the way. It just kind of dribbled off your foot and went in the net, but whatever. But they think if they just do something once, like that Pat Riley rule of 10,000 hours is long gone. It used to be you wouldn't even show anybody anything until you did 10,000 hours. Now these kids are like literally like, oh, a loom? Yeah, let me make something. Look, I'm a professional loomer. And you're like, no, that's not how life works.
My son started I think the key is finding something that they're really passionate about. And my son's into this. Baseball, he could care less. Piano, he could care less. He started coding lessons today.
Oh, that's
he's
cool.
a 9-year-old computer whiz. And I've had him on this program. There's a free one for people listening. It's called Scratch. It's made by MIT. Scratch.
I'm writing this down.
Yeah, scratch.mit.edu, I think. Let me see. Or scratch.mit.edu. Scratch spelled as you would think. And he's been doing that for a couple of years. That one's free. But he's 9 and he's so good at it. I'm like, if I can just push this a little bit. So he's going to have coding classes twice a week, 1-to-1 instruction virtually. And I just imagine that if he's already good at 9, imagine him at 12, 15, 18, like he's already built his career, so I'm psyched for him.
I love that. My daughter did one coding thing and she absolutely loved it. She made like a little character dance a certain way or whatever. And
oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. And she was like, oh, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then it was probably my fault because I didn't really pursue it. But yes, because listen, in 10 years, who's going to be running the world? Coders, right?
Coders, for sure.
Yeah.
And I've also made a deal with, of course, he loves video games and all that, but I'll be like, all right, you can play video games for an hour, but I want at least 20 minutes of something creative for him that's coding before that. So he'll go and code for 20 minutes and then you go play your video games for an hour. I don't mind, but I just need their brain working in some way. For my oldest daughter, who's on the spectrum and she has ADHD as well, for her, it's animating. So I just love when they're creative because it's like my wife and I just go create things, right? Except when it gets really messy around the house. That's not great creating.
Because you're a creative person. I feel the same way about that. I always tell my daughter, it's like, yeah, if you're I just be creative. I love that approach.
Yeah, you can use my phone if you're going to go create a movie. Sure. If you're going to watch YouTube, no.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's one of the things. Listen, it sounds we fail at that, like everything else as parents, right? But I try to have that be the philosophy. Go create something if you're gonna, instead of just.
A lot of parents don't put that out there though. They just hand them the phone just to distract them to get some kind of piece. So it's nice to hear that there are other parents who are kind of setting, you can do this, but you have to do this first.
But also feels like it's I feel like a hostage negotiator.
Yep.
On a daily basis, like even in the morning, like when I'm like, all right, 6:30, we have 1 hour. We're wheels up to school in 1 hour. I need you to do this. It's like, and she's like, well, can I do this? And I go, if you do this, you can do this. I feel like I'm like, all right, give us one hostage and I'll give you a pizza. It's like, it's like Dog Day Afternoon. And I'm just like, all right, I'm going to give you a case of Cokes, but I need one of the bank people. I need a bank teller.
So it's interesting. So now that I'm back and forth, you have to let go as a parent when the other parent is parenting, right? Which can be hard. But but I've had to, and I'm a really involved dad. Like I love spending time with the kids. I'm as involved as my wife is. Well, not right now because I'm here, but when I'm there and when we're there, I'm certainly as involved, equally involved as a parent in every which way. Right. But since I've been spending some time away, I get home and things are a little different, but I can't question it. But I'm going to share one with you just so you guys, you can feel. So we got a king size bed. My wife and I did like a month ago. We had never gotten a king. We had a queen. We got the king. So my wife decided to keep the queen in our bedroom as well. So now that I'm back, the entire family, including my 2 dogs, sleep in our room. So we moved to Nashville to get like a bigger house, right? So we got like a 4-bedroom house, 2 adults, 3 kids, 11, 9, 6, 2 giant dogs, all sleeping in our room, and they're sleep trained to only go to sleep in our room and to only go to sleep when we go to sleep now.
Wait, what? What? Wait, what? Wait, what? Back up. Say that again. Wait, what?
Which part did you not catch? They only go to sleep when we're going to sleep in the same room as them now.
That's the problem. I got a real problem with that.
That is the problem.
Like every vacation I've been on where my wife just books one hotel room with 2 queen beds. And then she's like, oh yeah, we're going on vacation. I go, it's not vacation because when the kids go to bed, we're in bed. This is a terrible vacation.
Terrible.
Right. But doable for a couple days or a week. But this is the next.
This is your life.
And I have no say. And listen, my wife, she feels safer having everyone in the same room, and she's got the dogs there with me gone. Like I get all that. But when, come May, when I'm back home a lot, we're going to have to re-sleep train our 11-year-old, our 9-year-old, and our 6-year-old, and our dogs.
My wife's the same, dude. When I was on the road, all of a sudden I'll FaceTime and she'll be like, I go, are the kids up? It's like 10:30 at night. And she's like, oh yeah, when I'm here, it's like at 7. And most of the time I put them to bed, not for their own mental health, but for my mental health, because I need them to be in bed so I can have a night to myself. But my wife's the opposite. She wants to spend time with them at night. And I'm like, yeah, go great. So, and she'll do it on like a Sunday night where I'm like, they're going to school in the morning. Why are you keeping up till like 10:30 at night? This is insane.
Right. So I never answered your earlier question about moving with kids, right? But because of COVID, all of their friendships sadly fizzled away here in Los Angeles. So my kids had friends, and then a year and a half later after COVID, they didn't have friends anymore. And we actually switched schools out here. So they more or less started, we moved in March 2021. So they more or less started school for the first time in 18 months in Tennessee, as opposed to going back to school in California. And it wasn't a big deal at all. So it was actually the best time to move because it didn't matter to them at all. Now my youngest has a couple friends out here that she misses. The other 2, not so much. So as far as moving with kids, there was never a better time to just switch to a completely different school system, or because school was just starting to ramp up again, So that part went seamlessly.
Yeah.
So we're good. We're good there.
So I guess the lesson is, if you're moving, just keep your kids out of school in the house for like a year and a half, so that by the time you move, they're like, oh, thank God we're leaving that place, right? Is that the
right? Yep. That's it.
It's smart. It's a time-intensive game you're playing, but it's smart.
Now, speaking of vacations, dude, we talked once before, and you told me something that made me laugh so hard, that when you go on vacation, you bring your own toaster. Is that true?
Don't disrespect the toaster oven by calling it a toaster.
Oh, so it's not a slide down toaster. And you bring it to any vacation you go on. You have your own toaster oven.
Well, sadly, that one has moved on to a different life. I had the Breville. The Breville is the ultimate. They're listening, right? They're watching. They're the ultimate.
They're one of our sponsors.
This thing is
one of our new sponsors.
Yeah. Some would call it more of an oven than a toaster oven, because it was a good 35 pounds, 37 pounds. And, it cook. If you have a bad toaster oven, you put your nuggets in there, it might take, 25, 30 minutes. Put it in the Breville, and of course, air fryers are the next level now. So now we travel with the air fryer as well. But this is, I started it before the air fryer became popular. And I mean, my whole argument is very simple, and I think makes a lot of sense. And that is, why would I ever bring my kids to a restaurant at a nice hotel that's going to cost hundreds of dollars for a meal that they're certainly not going to eat. And us as parents are going to have a terrible time because they're all going to misbehave. Why would I even want to do that once on a trip?
No,
So no. So I bring the toaster oven, make every meal in there. My wife doesn't agree, but the deal we've worked at is go to the pool. You go have a frosé or whatever your drink is.
Mhm.
I'll make dinner in the room and we'll meet you down there. We'll have full stomachs. Or I'll usually eat with my wife, but the kids will have full stomachs and be happy. And then we just saved $120 that way.
I have questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I like where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So you take the kids to the restaurant with you after they've eaten? No.
No.
So
no,
he feeds them with the toaster oven. That's what the toaster oven is
right,
for.
but what do you do with them when you eat, or do you just eat in the room with
yeah, I mean, the last couple of resorts we've gone to is there's different restaurants there. You can get takeout from there, so we'll grab takeout and then eat it at the pool or eat it on our balcony or something. Still a better time than sitting in the restaurant with our kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Without
So
a
you
doubt.
always get a refrigerator.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to with kids.
Yeah.
There's no way question.
Some people don't even know that. Yeah, you can call the second you get to the hotel. You just request a fridge, and they'll always and a microwave if they don't have one.
I have it waiting in the room. It's so funny because my wife will give me grief about stuff like that, and yet the first time we met, she should have known better because the first time we were met, I was on My Boys and I was staying in the Soho Grand down in Tribeca, in Soho rather in New York. And I'm in this great hotel, and we date a couple times. I met her in New York. She ends up kind of hanging out at the hotel or whatever. And I go to eat breakfast in front of her, and I had a refrigerator, and I was eating Goleen Crunch a lot at the time, and I used the ice bucket. I filled the ice bucket with Goleen Crunch and blueberries, poured milk on it, and then ate it with the ice scoop. I ate it with the ice scoop and my wife kind of watched me. Listen, I washed them. I washed them both. I didn't just use the ice bucket. I had washed it out and I used it and I ate it with the ice scoop. Yeah. I ate Goleen Crunch and blueberries with an ice scoop. And my wife was kind of laughing a little bit. And now she gives me grief about shit like that. And I'm like, you saw this from day one and you still married me. That's on you. That's a you problem.
Yeah. And also, and I would imagine you guys are probably like me, like, I never went to restaurants growing up. My parents, and listen, my kids have been to plenty, but I remember going to a restaurant with my parents. I think when I graduated high school, I think we went out to Macaroni Grill.
That was a big night at Pizza Hut, typically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was the thing here too.
That was a big night, like Pizza Hut. Like
we're
going out to Pizza Hut.
Yeah, I was heartbroken once. I think I was a sophomore in high school when my parents took my older sister, to El Torito, and I couldn't go. But that just proves how it was once every 2 or 3 years, maybe, right? And that's okay. That's fine. I hear a lot of parents talk about, we got to train our kids to be good in restaurants. No, they don't need to go to restaurants. What are you talking about?
Dude, my kids, we order out so much. My kids will go, "Hey, can we order ramen tonight?" And I'll be like, "No." I just made chicken parm, and my daughter, they're like, "Hey, can I help?" And you're like, "Yeah, okay," which means it's going to take 20 minutes longer and the whole kitchen is going to get destroyed, which is what happened. So you with the chicken parm, you put the chicken in the flour and then into the egg and then into the breadcrumbs. And then I fry it and then I put it in the thing, whatever. So she takes the first one and she goes, "Hey, can I help?" And she takes the first piece of chicken and she drops it into the flour. And the flour just goes boom. I'm like, here we go. Yep. I'm going, get the dustbuster. And it's a train wreck. It's just a train wreck. But you're sitting there doing it. It's funny. We only got to go to Pizza Hut if we got a book. If we got a book you book it for a free pizza. That's funny.
I love Pizza Hut, the restaurant. I haven't been in years, but I
loved it.
Regionally, they're all gone here.
Yeah. They got knocked out by Domino's, I think.
So you're in, Jason, you're in Pennsylvania, is that right?
Yeah, I'm in Northeast Pennsylvania, about an hour and a half north of Scranton.
Okay, cool. So I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay, where at?
I went to college in Trenton, New Jersey, the College of New Jersey. I grew up in Pequannock, but then we lived in Point Pleasant Beach for a little while as well. So that was our beach town. My first job on a microphone was on the boardwalk there, spinning the big wheel. Come on up, step on up. When to tickle me Elmo, come on up. So that was my first job on a microphone. Point Pleasant Beach boardwalk.
But
look where it led.
We'll have to cut back a couple episodes to the Jenkinson story about Jenkinson's boardwalk
Oh,
with the claw.
I gotta watch that.
I already told it.
Is it your story or whose story?
it's
is it?
his.
Claire,
Yeah.
It was Claire. It's going to be on the next album. It was too late for this album, but it's
well, dude,
a
that's
long story. I'll tell you off because we
Yeah.
already played it.
Yeah,
But
don't
the
tell
claw,
it. But I worked for Jenkinson South, and that was my, that was my first job ever.
Their motto was putting smiles on kids' faces for 90 years. And I'm going to tell you, as we were driving away from Jenkinson's, they should change it to making kids cry for the last 90 years is what it happened. Because Claire wanted the thing in the claw game. It's a long story, but she didn't get it. She didn't get it. And I almost put my fist through that thing. I was going to kill somebody. That's so funny. Hey, I have a question for you. So, because I kind of went down the rabbit hole on Life of Dad, and I haven't done it yet, but I think I'm done with 2 kids, and so I'm trying to figure out how to make it impossible to have number 3. So I have been pondering a vasectomy. And so I haven't done it yet, but I wanted to ask both you and Jason about what your thoughts were about them, and have you done them, and how should I go about this?
Yeah,
After you, my friend.
My story could get a little complex. Is that okay, Jason? If there's anything you want to share first, no?
Wait,
no, because mine is also complex.
So wait, are you both snippy snipped?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I did it. So we had 5 pregnancies. We have 3 kids that are alive, right? So pregnancy can be a traumatic time for our family. I don't know if that's the way for a lot of people. For us, they were always very traumatic and very scary, particularly my wife, emotionally really hard on her. So after we got our 3rd baby, who's super healthy and wonderful, we're like, what more can we do, right? We've done it. And so my wife and I were on the same page there. So we're like, and I was pretty young at that time. I mean, I was 36, which I think is relatively young to get the snip. You know what I mean? I would think, maybe not. I don't know what your number was, Jason. Were you younger than that?
I was 41.
Okay, so you're a little bit older when you did it, yeah. So, but for us, we got our healthy baby after some traumatic situations before that, and we were like, we're good. So, and then we, sex is a lot better without certain things involved, right? And then some of the other options for the female.
Wait a minute, you guys are having sex? Wait, what happened?
Sure were.
I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm confused, Tommy. So you with your wife?
Yeah. So after we had the baby, not right after, right, but months after, we dreamed of having sex again, and we did it.
It's not registering.
Yeah, no, not at all. You're not picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah. I have no idea. No idea. I mean, maybe on my birthday or Christmas. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But on that birthday or Christmas, you don't want to use protection. That was my wife and I didn't want to use protection, and we also didn't want to have another kid. So I was down with that. And my wife's always compared everything to pregnancy before. So any injury I get, she compares it to pregnancy, which I don't think is really fair. Because I break a toe or something, and she's like, "Is that as bad as giving birth?" And I'm like, "Well, you haven't given birth in 5 or 6 years, and also I didn't bring that up. I'm not saying this is worse than giving birth. So I don't know why you're."
Is that just her ace card? She just goes, "I'm sorry, would you say boom?" Is that she just drops on you?
So no pain, sympathy whatsoever for anything. So anyway,
traffic was brutal today. I don't know. Did you give birth in traffic? Is that how it worked today?
That's it.
Boy, the sun's hot. I should put some sunscreen in. I don't know. Is it hot enough to give birth? I'm so confused by what you're saying. Is that a problem?
Yeah. You've got it. You figured us out. Yeah. And so I don't know. It was known that I was going to get the vasectomy, which I was fine with. So I went in for the appointment with Dr. Shapiro. He's up in the valley, nice guy. If you're looking for someone, and he said leaving, nice consult guy I would trust to do this. I don't know. Seemed like I should. But he said, just don't forget to put on the numbing cream. And I said, okay. And then I went home, and the appointment was the next week, and I forgot to put on the numbing cream, which is something that you put on before so you don't feel the needle going into the what. So I went in that morning, and Lucy dropped me off, and she was taking the kids somewhere, and then she was going to pick me up after. And I told Dr. Shapiro, I didn't put on the numbing cream. He's like, ooh. Well, I guess we gotta keep going anyway. So I said, all right. So they strapped me down, and there's a nurse in there, and he's in there, and as he was getting close, I just kind of started screaming. I don't know. I was just completely losing it. And he hadn't even touched me yet, right? And then he did, and then you feel it go in. This is just the Novocaine portion of it. And then Novocaine into number 2. But the numbing cream would have helped that.
Care of all that.
You never would have felt that. You would have felt it kind of, but not the actual pain of it. So, I'm legit screaming. And he said, do you want some music on or something? Do you want to? So I said, yeah, that's a good idea. So he picked a music station. He chose classical. I said, that sounds good. So I'll just kind of sit back here and deep breathe. I also have a back sweat problem. I don't know if you guys know that. So I'm on the little paper thing that's on the on the bed there or whatever, the paper towel, long pulley thing. What do they call that? Doctor's paper. I don't know. Sweating through it, just full. I'm sliding up and down this somewhat elevated thing. I'm wheezing and I'm screaming, and he goes in, and you can feel him cutting the wires down there. You feel every bit of it, and I am. Jason, I hope yours was a little better than this, because I'm not trying to talk you into this, there, Jamie. But
my story's not going to help this.
I'm giving you the truth. So I felt it all, and then as I was finally reaching a state of peace, and I'm deep breathing, the music stops, and a tire commercial comes on. Come on down and buy your tires right here today. And then I felt like people were in the room screaming, and it was echoing everywhere. I was like, what is happening? And he finished, and I was like, all right, that's it. And then I started pulling my pants up. He's like, it's only halftime. So he had one more and so went the rest of my day. So it was a tough half hour. I'm happy I did it. I no after effects. I feel great. Jason.
I have questions. I have comments. I have so many thoughts about all this. First of all, I love that earlier you said Joseph Shapiro, not Joe, it was Dr. Shapiro. You give him a call. After the story you just told me, there's no way I'm calling that dude. That's the last guy I'm going to call, because here's one of my problems. I'd love you to apply the numbing cream. Hey, you're the doctor. If you need to bring me in 30 minutes early, I'm not. It's not an at-home. It's not an at-home test, dude. I get here. I hold my hands above my head. My junk's out. You take care of the business. Why am I assisting you on this operation? First and foremost, how long does it take numbing cream to work? He can't say, I'll push you back 30. I mean, numbing cream, I don't know. Numbing cream's what? I get it when they give me a shot in my mouth, it's like 3 minutes. The guy couldn't have lathered you up right then and then gone, and numbed it.
I should have had you as an advocate there with me.
Dude, I'm calling that.
Bring a birth advocate, right? You could be a doula. You could be a vasectomy doula.
Yeah. Some music. No. How about some numbing cream, dude? Go back in time and numb it. And by the way, hey, speaking of numbing cream, is there a way just to get some of that without the vasectomy? Can I order that a la carte? Is that something that would, if I just call a dude and go, hey, I could use some numbing cream, Jason, right?
I mean, I would take some now or later anytime.
I would rub it in right here is what I would do. I would just numb it. And my wife would be like, hey, what's happening?
If I could just rub it on my eardrums when my kids are screaming, just shut that down. That would be great.
My eye. Yeah. So it took, we had a buddy of mine, Jeff Lewis, on here, and he had to go, he talked about it very specifically, how he had to go back and go in a cup a few times to then, make sure.
Oh yeah,
the whistle was clean. Is that the right terminology?
Had to deliver the goods. Was it a couple times? Yeah.
Yep. Cleared the subway tunnel.
We got to have Jeff Lewis on here because it's a really funny story, because at the end he ends up he took the porn from the room. he took the porn. They do the same numbing process for a deep cleaning of the teeth as they do for cutting your. Yes, Jobo. Yeah. Jobo, you're late. I love that you came in. Jobo comes in all the time and he's very funny.
Jobo.
That is hilarious. So listen, it was hard for me to listen to that because I haven't had him snip. And everyone told me the same thing. They said, even if it's numb, you feel the string being pulled from inside.
You do, yes.
Inside your body. And even when people tell me that, I feel
you're like a marionette puppet in a way.
And they pull. And you're like, oh.
Yep. There
I haven't
and there were
done it
parts
yet.
of the story I kind of forgot. One of them being at one point after halftime, I kind of closed my eyes, went back to the deep breathing, and then as he was getting in there, I was just started like I was legit like like the blood curdling scream, like, and he's like, Tom, you gotta calm down. You gotta calm down. I'm still on the other side of the room. And I opened my eyes and he was nowhere near me. So I just, in my mind, he was there cutting already. But I freaked out.
I have another question. Here's my other question. And Jason, back me up. Halftime? It's like it's like that guy who just takes forever to do one little job where you're like, the two wires are right next to each other. You snipped one and then you were like, oh man, you know what? Kind of beat. Let me go back. I got to have a little speech. I want some Gatorade before I come in and attack that second wire. Hey, you're there. Just go snippy snip and let's move on.
You wouldn't want the same surgeon on like defusing a bomb. No.
Right?
Yeah.
Like he goes in bomb squad. He goes in, he comes out. He goes, dude, don't worry about it. I cut the first wire. Wait, I'm sorry. Is there a second wire? Yeah, I got to go back in, but I just wanted to come out. I want to grab some nosh, have a cup of coffee.
Here's some classical music to calm you while we wait.
Yeah. Here's some music. I love that too.
I wish you were my advocate, man. If you had been there. I don't think we've ever met in real life, so that could have been the first time we met in real life.
We have not.
I don't think we have, because I was watching back you and Jason saying that you guys had just met, which was so funny to me because I don't think we've ever met.
And listen, we talk about the perils of Facebook and everything, but I will tell you there are so many great things about it. So yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. All of our little parenting groups have been because of the pandemic, and we were kind of trapped in this vein. And
right.
Listen, there's so much negative online, true, but I don't think the good stuff gets publicized enough.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, and we're all trying to do the same thing there. Like we never, on Life of Dad, do anything political or anything that's going to divide, or try not to, at least, And
I just don't. What's funny is I don't. I think I used to have an opinion about certain things, and then I was like, look, my opinion is not going to change your point of view, so why even get bogged down? You know what our opinion's absolutely the same on is the fact that my kids went to school and left their lunch in the car, and I had to drive back. Like we're all on the same page when that happens. We're like, yeah, we've all done that. Yep. My wife, it happened this week, and my wife was like, teach her a lesson. Don't bring the lunch to her. And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, no. And I was a softie, and I drove the lunch. And so I drove the lunch all the way over there. I gave it to the assistant principal, who walked it up to her room. And I wrote a little note in her lunch that said, this is how much Daddy loves you. And I drove, that's all I wrote. This is how much Daddy loves you. And it was in lunch. And then I picked her up from school. I was like, how was your day? And she's like, good. And I go, how was lunch? Yeah, it was pretty good. And I go, well, did you notice anything different about your lunch? And she's like, no, not really. I said, what about the note in there? She's like, yeah, I didn't get it. I don't know what you're talking about. She didn't, because the principal brought the lunch to her room, put it in the bag. So she didn't know she hadn't brought it. She thought she brought it.
So she didn't know.
She didn't even know that I drove back to the school. I felt like George Costanza in Seinfeld, where I wanted to go, no, I bought this big salad. I know the other girl brought it, but I paid. I worked hard, and she didn't. I go, Hannah, you didn't bring your lunch. I had to drive it back to school. She's like, I did? And I go, yeah, it was in the car. You left it in the car. And she was like, oh, whatever. And I was like, the fuck? Why did I have to deal with this shit?
Yeah.
That story to everybody. Everybody goes, oh, I totally get that. But when you deal with politics, people and then they're like ready to kill each other. So
right. Well,
we can all unite about a lost school lunch.
Yeah.
So like in your mind, you saved the day. In your wife's mind, you shouldn't have saved the day. And your daughter had no idea that it even happened. So it was just you and the principal, or whoever, the assistant principal.
Yeah.
That
they didn't do their job. They just put it.
It was like I won the Congressional Medal of Honor, but nobody saw it, so I didn't get the medal, and then I was killed. I just died overseas.
Right.
And
but isn't that Aren't those the true heroes though? The ones where you're not bragging about it? No. Well, you are now, I guess. But
you know, when people are heroes and they get recognized and they're like, oh, I don't need recognition. I think sometimes we do need some recognition for what we do.
Well, I commend you, Jamie. Good job.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Did we talk about this, Jason, where I told you that I did stand up? Have you done that? This is a good question, Tommy. Where how did it go? It was one daughter's birthday, not a birthday. She had a big day. Oh, she had her first tooth fell out, and so we were celebrating. And we were going to take her out to dinner, and the other daughter was so kind of pissy that the other one was getting kind of accolades and some rewards that she's like, I don't want to go to dinner. And I was like, you don't want to go to dinner? Okay, fine. You're not going to dinner. And I stayed home with her, and it was an absolute meltdown. And my wife was like, let's just take her. And I go, no, I'm putting my foot down. And I stood up to her, and she had a meltdown, but it turned out to be, she ended up having a great night and was really, apologetic about her behavior because I finally stood up to her, and I felt good. Have you done that where you've just absolutely stood up to your kids and said, no, I don't give a shit?
Yeah. I mean,
it's Disneyland. It's over.
Right. It sounds like you and I are probably similar in that way, where I probably give too much to them. Right. I'm certainly guilty of that. So there was one time where and listen, it's such a joke in the big picture, but like, they love pancakes, and I make them each, one of them likes chocolate chips in them. The other one prefers a waffle. I did the whole spread, whatever.
So you customize them.
Yeah. But then they're fighting about it. And I had warned them, they're known to fight about everything and who's getting which one and what one. And I told them, hey, if you guys fight after I make these, I'm going to throw them out. So I went through the whole thing, made them all. And then they actually watched me throwing them into the garbage as they continue to fight. And they, like, for them, it was the end of the world. In the big picture, it was a very small foot that I put down. But at the moment, it seemed like a solid stance, but that hasn't changed it. I am certainly where I'm not a great, I do too much for him, for sure.
I think we all do, dude.
I'm definitely guilty of
I do
that.
too much for him.
We're all guilty.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to fix it yet. So recently our backyard has been a disaster because the kids have all these old kids' toys that are kind of laid out like a homeless shelter out in the backyard. And so I kept saying, I said, listen, if you don't pick these things up, I'm throwing it out. I don't give a shit. I'll throw this all out. I don't care anymore. I'm going to throw it out. And they go like, whatever. And they kept leaving it out. So finally, one day, I threw it all out. I just went through the backyard. I left like one dollhouse that they had, and the rest I just threw in the trash can. And they came home and they were like, hey, you threw stuff out. And they were like, and they weren't even fazed.
Right.
They didn't care. Like, they just went on to the next toy. They didn't give a shit. And I was like, and I kind of had panic. I thought it was going to be a huge meltdown. I thought I was going to have to rebuy some of the toys where they just had a meltdown. And they didn't even. It's a thing. And so lately I've been kind of going to the garage. And it's been almost harder for me to let things go than for them, where I'm just like, like today we had two little girl bikes. Claire's the youngest, and she has her regular bike that she rides. There was one that was littler and one that was little like that, like a first bike and almost a little bike. And they'd been just sitting in my garage forever. So I put them out in front of my house and I put a sign that said free, enjoy. And so I taped it up. And I forgot something inside, and I walked back inside, and I walked back out, and they were gone. Like, in fucking like 10 minutes. They were both gone. I was like, oh, and a little trampoline. There was a crazy trampoline that was missing half the springs.
Yeah.
And I just put it out front. I'm telling you, within 10 minutes, they were both gone. Everything was gone. It was just cleaned out. I was like, oh. And I had a pain of regret of like, oh, my God, did I just give away? And then for a second, I was terrified I gave away her regular bike. And so I went back to the garage and I was like, did I give the wrong bike away? And I saw her bike. I was like, okay, I think I'm right.
We had a similar thing with a trampoline. And when we took it out, I saw the guy taking it. And I was like, I hope your kids enjoy it. And he goes, oh, no, this is for my goats. And I was like, oh, okay. I want video of the goats on the trampoline, but he took them for his goats.
Have you done stuff like that, Tommy, where you're just getting rid of stuff?
What's that?
Have you had the same experience just getting rid of stuff?
Oh, for sure. But I'm going to ask you guys a question. Are you ever the person that takes that free stuff and brings it home? because this is another battle that my wife and I have, where if I see something great that's free, that's great. Where she thinks she calls it garbage picking.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, but the neighbor was giving away an amazing keyboard. Now I know my kids aren't going to practice on it, and I know no one's going to use it, but I like having that. I'm definitely a hoarder, but I like having that keyboard in my garage in case we need a great keyboard. Because you can also plug it in, and there's tunes in there, and it can play any
great keyboard. Listen, a keyboard's not trash.
Yeah, it's not trash. I side with you on that.
No, a keyboard is a musical instrument. That is, like we have a piano, so I might not, but that's fine. But you wouldn't grab like a half-used trampoline that half the springs are missing from somebody front.
And the guy did from us.
Somebody did. I think a lot of guys are taking it for the metal. They're metal collectors. Anything that's made of metal, they take and then they sell it for scrap. I don't know. But
I haven't taken anything in a long time. I used to. I took a dresser once. It was like a nice dresser, and I was like just starting out. But it's been a while since I've done it.
I've been really getting better. I think honestly, Tommy, the pandemic really helped me about like minimizing clutter. About going. I've been just get rid of it. If I haven't touched something in like a year, get rid of it. I really am trying to be better. I used to be more of a hoarder because my parents grew up in the Depression. So they were like, save everything. Everything can be reused in some way. And I kind of do that sometimes, but the part now I'm always like, pay it forward. If it's good, let somebody else use it because it's just sitting there and I'm not using, but I don't know.
Yeah. That's great mentality. I'm going to grab a beer. I'll be back. The fridge it's a small apartment.
We got to let you go. We got to let you grab a beer and then we'll wrap this thing up. Because we all want to watch the last inning. I think there's one inning left.
How's it going? I don't have it on here. What's happening?
Yeah. What's the score?
6-1 Red Sox.
Sweet.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't think either of these teams are going to go far in the playoffs, but as long as the Yankees lose, I think we're all happy.
Yeah.
And here come the text chains.
Hey.
Here's what's funny about being from Boston. Like Boston, we always had a chip on our shoulder about like, being the New York's younger brother. And we always thought there was a rivalry. And then my wife's from New York and I lived in New York for a while. And New York's the greatest city on earth. It's pretty great. And then you go to New York and people don't have the resentment for Boston. Like, oh yeah, I guess, whatever. But in Boston, people are like, I hate New York.
Right.
And then you go to New York, you're like, New York's the balls, man. New York. Yes, Jobo. Listen, it's not my fault. I was born into Boston, and so I was bred into that. Boston's like San Francisco, but with a lot of hate, which I love. But and then you go to New York, and New Yorkers don't even care about the rivalry. They're like, yeah, we're New York. We don't care because they're the great.
But how good was that? One of the sports highlights of my life, because the Red Sox are my second favorite team, coming back from 3-0. When was that? 2002, 2003,
2004.
2004.
That was big. Yeah, I watched it in Sonny McLean's, and it was actually a seminal point in my life where all of a sudden I was like, oh, it took the monkey off my back. Like before that, we were all kind of bred to like, oh, we're going to lose. Bad things are going to happen. And then that happened, and we were like, it kind of shed everything. And it's funny. It still goes back to our mentality of like, it meant so much to me back then. And now that I have kids, like I'll watch this game, and if it's the Sox win, great. If they don't, I won't lose a wink of sleep. Couldn't care less. But it's fun.
Yeah.
It's more recreational now. It used to be, and listen, I've seen. We've all been in bars where fights have broken out, and you're like, guys, what exactly are you fighting about? These multi-millionaire athletes who don't give a crap about you and taking their helmets off so they can show their brand off, and they're trying to get a sponsorship deal with somebody. And it's like.
I caused a lot of those fights.
You probably did. Hey, listen, we've gone way longer. Is there anything else? Anybody? You got to come back, dude. This is.
Yeah, man, I'm in. I was just gonna say congrats on the. I think there's a need to have like a dad parenting type stage show. So I think that's awesome. You guys figured out a way to do that in a venue. I think that's really cool. And Jamie, congrats on the album too. So fun.
I really appreciate it.
So much fun to listen to.
I appreciate it, dude. And as a comic brethren, it's always cool that when you're when you're in that clique. I played in a golf tournament yesterday with a bunch of comics, and I hadn't seen them in forever. Like Chris Porter and Fairbanks and Kreischer was there, and Jim Jeffries. And it's because of the pandemic. Nobody had been out, nobody'd seen each other and stuff, and it was kind of, there is something, and we talked about this a couple shows ago about the fact that I think I took the art for granted about what it really offered to people. And during the pandemic, especially with Life of Dad offering these comedic bites, I think we take it for granted that it really is, it's a healing mechanism for people to vent. And it honestly kind of opened my eyes to go, what all the artists do is so important to society, to help people kind of get through the day. And so kudos to you as well for all you do for Life of Dad.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, come back
anytime. This whole thing, man. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to Tommy Riles. Definitely, if you're not already on the Life of Dad, go follow, go like, because it's just a constant stream. And it's also people, it's not just funny, but it's people who are like, hey, I'm going through this issue and this problem. And so you can help others and you can be helped yourself. So it's really a great community of dads. So
like I said, man, it has helped me on more than one day when like things are just a little overwhelming and I see just the right funny thing come down through your stuff. And that means a lot to us out there in the trenches.
Yeah. Jason, thanks for saying that, man. And good to meet you, man.
You too. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you soon. And please come back on the show. And you and I are going to grab a drink in person soon.
Sounds great.
All right, brother.
All right.
Love you. Dude,
Wow.
fun tonight. It was great. Yeah.
Okay. So
I
some people are waiting to find out who the guest for next week is.
Oh, that's right. Oh, go ahead. Take the honors.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming next week to the Parents Lounge from a little movie called Anchorman, also Anchorman 2, and The Office, Mr. Dave Keckner will be joining us here on the Parents Lounge live.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Super excited. Literally, like, it's so funny because as a comic, Tommy and I will talk about this about like, I have to tell really funny jokes and be funny that way. Keckner's just funny. That dude,
I'm excited to meet him because like I'm from near Scranton and he's an office guy.
He's also SNL. Like he's been on every show that's ever been on. Like he's just, and he is, we've done some stand-up shows before. He is so blindingly funny. And he has a ton of kids. He has a ton of kids and he has a ton of crazy stories about kids. So we are going to publicize it. Random, have you ever given or gotten a wedgie before?
Both. Today,
both.
In fact.
Yeah, today, I'm getting one right now as we speak. Yeah, constantly.
Do you have a wedgie guy that's just in there underneath?
Yeah, it's just a constant. I mean, it's just
impressive sitting down, mister.
So Dave Keckner next week. We'll talk more about that. We'll spread some word. Anything else anybody needs to know?
Yeah, you can catch us every week, Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, at facebook.com/The Parents Lounge, youtube.com/Jamie Kaler, or twitch.tv/The TPL Show. And you can catch us, our audio version of our podcast on iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts.
My new album, Homeschooled, is out. It's on iTunes. You can go download it there. And if you're a parent, you will definitely, if you parented during the pandemic, then you might have a laugh or two. Also, be sure to join Life of Dad, follow that, and follow the Parents Lounge, because we want your opinion, because this is all a communal process. And we love it when people comment, because honestly, your horrible stories make us feel better the same way our horrible stories about parenting make you feel better. So join the group.
Absolutely. And if you have questions for legendary comedian Bill Engvall, who's now going to be a regular part of our show, send in your parenting questions for him, and he'll be answering some of them on the air.
All right, that's it. Let's all go watch the last inning of the Red Sox Yankees. I love you all. Jason, I'll talk to you soon. And all right, see you guys next week.
Have a good week. Good night, everybody.